What's up, guys? It's Benny. Absolutely bombshell stuff on the Biden Autopen scandal that is spiraling insanely out of control for the Biden administration. Finally, House GOP doing oversight. And now we have a whistleblower saying that the Biden administration was selling pardons, selling the signature of the president to get out of prison. Joe Biden signed 8,000 pardons and commutations, which, of course, is not possible for anybody to do if they were working with clear and sharp mind for 24 straight hours per day, 7 days a week, 12 months out of the year. You're just not, you can't do that. You can't do that and then be also the president of the United States. 8,000 pardons that Joe Biden considered and then signed? Bullshit. And we asked this question of Tim Burchett, who said this. It got us on Jesse Waters' show. Let's just play the clip.
Biden was a ghost in his own White House. Republican Congressman Tim Burchett from Tennessee says those thousands of pardons that Biden signed, those were auto-penned. And White House aides may have gotten rich.
You're going to find staffers that were able to take forms, get them, and run them through some sort of bogus legal system, and then they auto-penned them. And there's probably people out on the street that shouldn't be, but somebody got rich off that. And I think those people, I hate to say it, but you'll see something probably horrible happen to some of those people because it goes up the chain. This is a very dangerous town to play games in.
Well, that started a news cycle, Tim Burchett, saying, hey, I think that this is a normal practice in corrupt administrations to sell pardons. And James Comer went in over the top. He's head of government oversight in the House, saying, no, you don't understand. We have whistleblowers now coming forward. We've identified who worked this auto pen, and they have something to say.
You are going and looking at who is controlling this auto pen, because Joe Biden, I mean, he's demonstrating that he doesn't have all the cognitive capabilities they had. That interview was from 2023.
Yeah, that's hard evidence. Early in the President Biden's term as president, it clearly shows that he was in significant mental decline. It questions who was actually making the decisions. So what we found is not just with the pardons he issued, but many of the executive orders that the courts are now using to Trump-proof, many of the executive orders that President Trump is trying to implement to make government more efficient. Many of these executive orders, as well as the pardons of Biden's entire family as a result of our investigation, these were all signed with the auto pen. And clearly from that interview, which was many, many months prior to the heavy use of the auto pen, Joe Biden wasn't capable of making decisions. He wasn't coherent. We think we've identified who the staffers are. Jason, you all have done great work with that over at Heritage Oversight. We're going to bring everyone that we believe was involved in any role in the use of the auto pen. We're going to invite them to come in for a transcribed interview. If they want, then they will receive a subpoena and they will have a full-blown deposition. But we want to find out who was actually making the decisions in the White House during the last 9 months of the Biden administration when he was clearly in mental decline.
And then on top of that, we have Ed Martin. Ed Martin was the former D.C. U.S. attorney, and he's now the DOJ, heading up oversight with James Comer. So he's a DOJ lawyer, and he's in charge of government oversight and corruption. And he says that there is a whistleblower that has come forward to say, no, you don't understand. This whole Biden auto pen thing was payola. People were paying for pardons. It's a monster spiraling scandal. Here we go.
Well, I'll make a little news for you, Mark, here. I was in the office as U.S. attorney for about 5 days when I wrote to a number of senior Biden officials in the White House saying, what did you know about Joe Biden's competence and the pardons? And I got some responses. And so I've been looking at this for a while. Again, I think that the question is more about competence. If you have someone who's not competent, they can't enter into a contract, right? And if you do enter into a contract, you've committed fraud. The question is whether you use a tool to trick people into entering into a fraud. So the Biden pardons are unprecedented. The ones right before Christmas that he did, people forget this. I think it's a couple thousand pardons that were done. Did he know about that? Did he really understand? Look, the pardon power is plenary, but the guy has to be competent to do it. Now you come forward to this question broadly of the Autopen. Autopen's completely obviously legal if you're competent, and there must be a trail that shows who was in charge of the Autopen. I know this exists. Like, I worked for a governor. We had a system for an Autopen to be able to use it. And so right now we have unprecedented conduct, the pardons, unprecedented admissions, the books, as well as the staffers. I had a whistleblower in my office 10 days ago, senior Democrat, saying, look, it was these three people that controlled access and they were making money off of it. I don't know if I believe it yet, but the point is, I think we have to get to the bottom of it for the American people and to protect the process. And that's what we're doing. And by the way, make it all the way to the bottom. It may not be criminal, but it certainly should be a scandal of the first order, maybe in human history, or maybe American history. I sound like the president there, but in American history, to have this kind of conduct.
Ed, I'm from Maryland, not North Carolina, so I'm not that bright. Did I miss what the news was? You said you'd make news. What was the news you made?
The news was that nobody knows until that I was writing to these folks at the U.S. Attorney's Office, and including the Biden family. I don't think anybody has seen that. So my point is, I'm bragging about being there early. Everybody got to this 120 days later.
Did they reply, or you just sent them letters?
No, they didn't.
What'd they say?
Well, a couple of them lawyered up, and one of them wrote directly. I won't talk about what they said.
And can you and you probably won't tell us, but can you characterize who the whistleblower was? It someone who worked in the Biden White House?
Biden campaign, 2020 campaign at the highest levels.
2020, and who are the three people they said were doing it for money?
This is the one who's let me say it carefully. Yeah. The gatekeepers. Different characterization of who was using the access, but the gatekeepers were Klain and Anita Dunn and Bob Bauer, and those three were really dominant characters in the White House. Ricchetti a little bit, and obviously Jill, but I think that was the three. I was with this person, and I said, "What about Susan Rice? What about some of these others?" And they said, "No, these were the ones."
Okay, I will politely and gently tell you his name is pronounced Ricchetti.
Oh, okay.
Soft. Just so you know.
Just so I know. Okay. I'll make sure if I meet him, I'll get it right.
Okay. He's a very nice guy. I think you'd like him if you met him.
All right. Just adding to the whole thing. Finally, we have an interview with Tim Burchett done in his office during a live stream yesterday, where we asked about this again, because it was actually Tim Burchett on our show that started the entire news cycle. And lo and behold, we get new information. Again, not only the confirmation of the whistleblower, but also what's going to happen next. This, ladies and gentlemen, story is not going away. Get ready.
That's why I always tell people I'm not suicidal.
You made a lot of news on our show saying that you believe that there could have been some real payola with some of these Biden
Have
pardons.
to be 8,000 pardons. I said 2,000, and it's come out. Somebody said something about
8,000.
8,000 freaking pardons. You think Joe couldn't remember what he'd had for breakfast? He couldn't remember where the dadgum bathroom was, and he reviewed 8,000 files on pardons. Give me a freaking break. This is so shady, and it's just Washington, D.C. It happens every day. That's the thing. It happens all the time. But with Trump in there, we're focusing on some of this stuff. Yeah. And every department is suspect. And, you just can't get past it.